up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Midday Monologue Monday is upon us again, my friends, and it's so good to see you. Well, I don't really see you. You know that, right? This works one way. You can see me. But you understand what I mean. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that we're together. You know, a few weeks back, well, depending on how everything drops, a few weeks back, I talked about some of the games from my youth, the Gen X board games, and how there's this almost revival of either board games from that time period or just pop culture from that time period being turned into a board game. Well, after I did the video, I realized that there are some, what I consider, really great games from my youth that are completely off this radar, that don't have an update, that haven't been reissued or anything like that as far as I know, and they're really hard to get your hands on. So I want to talk about a few games from my childhood that I think were really amazing, fantastic, awesome games. Maybe because of my age, maybe because of the time period they came out in, they were dropped out in, who knows, but for whatever reason, I honestly thought these were fun, great games. So come on down the table, and I'll see you there. Now, if you want to hear about some of the other ones that are already being reproduced, check out the Gen X gaming video I did. Games that I cover there are such titles as Dungeon, Dark Tower, and Hero Quest. So they're not going to be covered here. This is more concerning games that, as I said, aren't on the radar to be reissued, updated, redone. But that doesn't mean that maybe they shouldn't be. There's a lot of small publishers out there that are looking for an IP to grab onto, or maybe even an old game to reissue. Now, if anyone that does that is watching this video or listening to it, hopefully one of these will give you an idea of where to look. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. A wink's as good as a nod to a blind bat, my friends. Now, the first game, I got my notes here because I'm not going to remember all of this. So, pardon me if you see me looking away from time to time. Now, the first one on the list, wow, and I did, oh yes, Milton Bradley. Okay, I didn't make a note. Milton Bradley, back in 1978, came out with a game inspired by The Hobbit. In fact, that's the name. That's part of the name, actually. I think this has one of the longest names in board gaming history that I know of. Not the longest, but I think it's definitely a contender for one of the longest. So the full official title of this Milton Bradley game is The Hobbit, The Adventures of Bilbo in Middle-earth from Lord of the Rings. That's a bit of a mouthful. You can't just call it The Hobbit because there's tons of Hobbit games out there. Now, I was 9 years old when this game came out and I got it. Because we got this game for me right away because I was such a big nerd, and still am, over all things fantasy, including the works of Tolkien. So, as you can imagine, being an only child, it quickly found its way into my collection. Oh, and by the way, some of my longtime viewers, you may be confused because you've heard me at other times say things like, oh, I got this from my sister, or my brother said this. It's a long, complicated story. Let's just leave it at this. I was raised as an only child. So when an only child has certain demands, and they aren't super expensive, like this really wasn't. I mean, Milton Bradley, I can't tell you what it was at the time when it came out, 12, 15 bucks. You know, you tend to get the things you want. Anyway, I got this game, and me, T-Bone, And all the other kids that I was growing up with at the time, Dennis, Michael, Jonathan, Ray, Dave, we absolutely loved this game. It was fun. It was simple. Parts of it, so simple, parts of it almost kind of reminded you of Candyland, though it's nothing at all like Candyland, don't get me wrong. Parts of it maybe you even might think of as a little bit like a very toned down game of life. Very toned down, but it's not. But you may feel that way playing the game a few times. You may understand why I make those comparisons, even though I admit those comparisons are a little bit of a stretch, but they're still there. This game had us mesmerized, not only because we were reliving the adventure of Bilbo through the game, not only were we getting a chance to, be competitive with each other, because by the time I was 9 years old, we were already playing Dungeons & Dragons, so we were doing more than enough cooperative stuff. And this gave us a chance to actually go at each other's throats. As much as 9 and 8-year-olds do. Actually, they can be pretty vicious about that. But not only were we mesmerized because of the IP of the game, what the game was, but also it looked fantastic. The artwork wasn't exactly from the Hobbit cartoon, but it was so reminiscent of it. They obviously wanted the artist to try to draw it to look like the cartoon look. And it comes across, especially the younger you are, the more your perception doesn't see all the minute differences. So, like, to 9-year-old me, it looked exactly like the cartoon. And, nowadays I look back at it, I'm like, well, I can see the differences now. But it was more than just the art. The board itself, the box was the board in a sense. Because when you opened it up, there was another cover inside. I said the outside box holding the inside. And then the inside itself had a topper to it, which was the main game board. And underneath that was all the cardboard standees, stand-ups, and environment places that you put up, making it a cardboard 3D board game. And for the life of me, as far as I remember, that is the first time I had ever seen anything like that outside of model trains. Model trains at that point in my life were probably the only time I had seen environments replicated. So to see this in a board game, even though it was cardboard, it wasn't exactly 3D, it was flat cardboard, so it wasn't the same thing as the environment of a miniature train collector's world, but it was still standing up and staring us in the face. The ogre, Gollum, the misty mountains, the forest, the hanging spider, and the board was also dual level, going down the waterfall in the barrels. It had everything that you needed to really, especially when you're younger and your imagination is so much more wild in some cases, you were totally reliving this story. You were reliving the cartoon movie. It was so much fun. And for the life of me, this game is one of the hardest things to find on eBay or anywhere else. It is, I've had more luck tracking down, although the prices are out of my range, but I've had more luck tracking down Dark Tower than I've had of finding The Hobbit, The Adventures of Bilbo in Middle-earth from Lord of the Rings by Milton Bradley. And I know for a fact I'm not the only one looking for this. I've read reports from other people, I've seen postings from other people that I know I'm not alone. So come on, why don't we find this game, see about getting the rights to it, and redoing this. Either, exactly the way it is, or maybe upgraded somehow. I don't care. Even though I think I'm like way aged out of this board game, I would totally buy it. I would buy a new version of it. I would buy the old version of it. I would buy it because it means so much to my heart. But that's not the only game. There's two others I'm going to bring up quickly. One of them was by Kenner, And this one has been reissued, actually. I just found out before I started filming, after I had already written all my notes. It's from what I can tell, it's an exact 100% just remake of the original game. There's nothing new or different about it, except for the little bonus extra that you get. So this game by Kenner, and maybe you're thinking to yourself, Kenner, what's Kenner most famous for? Especially from the 70s. I wonder. Yeah, you're right. Star Wars. And this in particular shares a title with at least 2 other board games that they just deviate a little bit from. And this one specifically is called Escape from Death Star. Not to be confused from Escape from the Death Star. Or was the other one Escaping the Death Star? I think it is. They're so close. But this one is Escape from Death Star. No the. Why do you need the? Shorten it up. People can say it faster. They can order it faster. Get it in their hands faster. You get the money faster. I don't know. But that's the title of the game. Now, this board, I remember being square. Maybe if it was rectangle, it was a very short rectangle. I think I remember it being square. And you were going from corner to corner. You know, you started off in breaking out the detention areas all the way in one corner. If you're facing it to me, it would always be to my right, the closest right corner to me. You start there and you're going to the furthest away left corner. And you're maneuvering through the Death Star itself. And each team has 2 pieces that you're playing. One represents Han and Chewie, and the other represented Luke and Leia. And the goal was to get all the way to the left side. That's where the hangar base was. Get out, get everyone together, escape, and then actually go through a smaller second board in the corner there, where you're fighting and dodging and getting by the TIE fighters in order to get to the Rebel base, and then you win. Now, along the way, I forgot what they called them, but a generic term now would be encounter cards. There's encounter cards along the way that you're going to get that are things like stormtroopers in the hallway get delayed, like a blaster misfire, or even the trash monster reaching its tendrils out and dragging you back into the trash pit. And then some of them advanced your movement, some of them pulled your movement back, some of them caused you to lose a turn for this one piece. Maybe the Luke and Leia piece gets delayed, so next turn you can only use your Han and Chewie figure standee. They use the cardboard standees, and cardboard is a very nice way of putting it. It is barely thick paper. I remember there was a spinner. You didn't have to die. It was a spin move thing. And it was really fun. It was a wild battle, always, getting through that Death Star. And besides the cards, on the board itself are encounter areas, and you want to try to avoid those where you can. And we always had a ton of fun with this game. And it's been reissued now as is. And the one difference is they added in an action figure, a Kenner action figure, whoever owns them nowadays, and that is coincidentally of my favorite character from the original movie, and that's Grand Moff Tarkin. So I'm thinking about getting that, but the reason I'm still talking about this here now, even though there is a reissue of it, is I'd actually like to see an update to it. It's nice that they've reissued this, and I want to get my hands on it, but this game can be so much larger. This game borders on possibly being an epic style tabletop adventure. And that's what I think needs to be done. It needs to be beefed up a little bit. And I think it would be a much more fun game. And it's already a ton of fun to begin with. But it doesn't need just this reissue. It needs to be bulked up. Now, the last one in question, I remember both me and T-Bone both had this growing up. And it's funny because we both have pretty much the same story of some of our strongest memories outside of playing it with each other and the other kids. This is a game I played with my mom. T-Bone played it with his mom. And that's funny because neither of our mothers are, at all nerdy. No interest in, fantasy, Tolkien, Dungeons and Dragons, anything like that. But for some reason, now there's no fantasy in this game, but it is kind of a medieval setting. This game happened to catch the attention of both of our mothers. But this game was by, who was that by now? Let me check the note. That was by Parker Brothers in 1977. That was the same year the previous game I just talked about, Escape from Death Star. Were both in 1977, these games. Dungeon Dice was good for 2 to 4 players. You couldn't play it alone. It was a kid game. I can't remember the age category for it, but I'm sure it was under 10. I'm positive it must have been under 10. But this game, it was a square board with a hole in the center, and in that hole in the center was the tray from the box itself, which was this pit, for lack of a better term. It was just this. It was made out to look like it was carved stone pit, I always thought of it like some sort of weird gladiatorial pit out of Conan or something, although it wasn't. It was just a dice tray, which incidentally is the first time in my life I've ever came across dice tray kind of thing. I never even thought of that concept. Just roll them on the board. If you roll them too hard, they go on the floor. It doesn't count. Re-roll them. But this had a tray, and it was thematic. Oh, even more eye-catching. Now, each side of the board was set up for a player, and you're in a dungeon cell and a medieval-style castle. And you're trying to escape, and the first player to escape is the winner. And so it's a combination of rolling these dice, that wooden dice, which I think were just thematically amazing. They added to the game, and I don't like wooden dice. I've rolled wooden dice before, since then, and I don't like them. It's hard for me to explain why, and I'm not going to waste any more time getting into it. But just, I don't. But for this game, it absolutely worked. Oh, I love the way the wood felt banging around in your hand as you were rattling it, getting ready to roll. And the rolling of it, and the lightness of the dice, and making them, I don't know, maybe bounce a little more or something. I just absolutely loved it, and I thought it was perfect for the game. Now you're trying to, from what I remember, I was trying to get sets of things. There's like a shovel and a ladder and a key, a lantern. There's a few things on these dice, and you're trying to get like sets. You're trying to get certain things to come out in order to help you in your escape route. And meanwhile, you're playing cards, tunneling cards, and just aesthetically look fantastic. Of this little guy tunneling his way out with a spoon, and with the cards you get to play are hopefully plain tunnel cards. You're just going through the tunnel. Some of them might be collapses where you get caught, and that's where the dilemma in the game comes from, and that's where some of the strategy between that and the dice. It kind of had a combined strategy need here. And I just love this game, and we played this all the time. Like I said, me and my mom, T-Bone and his, me, T-Bone and Dennis, we got together. We would play this game because it was a lot of fun. There was a little bit of take that aspect in it, I seem to remember, which for little kids' first time experiencing a take that sort of game, kind of got a little ugly maybe the first time or two. I don't remember 100%, but I kind of feel more than remember that. But it was absolutely so much fun. It needs to be reissued at the very least. I'm not sure how they would redo the game instead of just reissuing it. Maybe if you wanted to get fancy, you can make it a 5-point board and a 5th player to it. Definitely some more cards for the tunneling. Maybe some sort of encounter deck as well that you have to draw each turn. Well, each round, not each player's turn, but each round that all the players are going to go in, there's like some sort of encounter card that gets played or something. But it's real fun, and I love that game so much, and I would love to see either just a reissue of it or sort of a little bit of a bulk-up redesign. But those are 3 games from my youth that definitely need to be re-examined. Which ones from yours do you remember fondly, and do you wish could be some sort of updated version? If not, maybe just a reissue. Let me know. Let everyone else know. Stay cool, everyone. I'm your buddy Big John and G for Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming, and I am